when you think back on your time at the LPO, it's a long time. And I just wanted to ask you, you've had many achievements, but what are you most proud of that you've achieved?
It's a difficult one. I would say overall, generally, it's creating a very happy, harmonious working environment that I think has been a hotbed of really great creativity, led, of course, by a really brilliant principal conductor in Vladimir Yurovsky. So I think that there are many memorable and great concerts. The one, I guess, that sticks in my mind is the Shakespeare anniversary concert that we did. Simon Callow helped us with that directing, and it was a mammoth undertaking, but I think a really very successful concert. The Mahler 8, of course, was amazing, and starting the Ring cycle also. But going back to earlier, when I started, of course, Kurt Bazul was the principal conductor, and in many ways he was a really difficult man to work with, but I remember some of the greatest performances that I attended with the LPO were conducted by him. At this stage of his life, it was difficult for him to raise his arms, but he could do everything through the face, through the eye, through the just a slight movement. And it was incredible to see how the orchestra could respond so amazingly to every little twitch that he made. So that was impressive. Then, of course, we had a very exciting time with Yannick Segan as the principal guest conductor, because in a way he was the perfect foil to Vladimir. He had an entirely different approach to music making, and it was fantastic to see the orchestra move between these two personalities with such consummate ease. In fact, that's the one thing about the LPO. The flexibility of the musicians is absolutely incredible. And when you think of the way at Glyndebourne we could be doing Rossini one night and then Verdi the next night, or Grettin, or Peter Erdbosch or something, and these are done one night after another, that they could just flip between Baroque, classical, 20th century, 21st century styles so readily, always amazed me. And so in having somebody like Vladimir, who was so interested in creating interesting juxtapositions in programs, we could do this because the orchestra was always up to the challenge. Sometimes I felt that we were pushing them too hard, but I think that there's no purpose unless you're constantly striving to do better. Somehow you've got to exceed your grasp, or what's the heaven for, as John Donne said. So I think in that sense, the orchestra made great strides during this period, and I think it was because we all wanted to.
And you also took the audience on a journey, because with the, well, some would say quite risky and adventurous programming that you did with Vladimir Yurovsky, I guess some other orchestras might have seen those programs as box office death, but you did really build an audience for adventurous programming. I think the LPO became known for, you know, the audience might think, well, I don't know this, but I'll come anyway. And you created context.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think that we were very open to exploring new repertoire and to pushing the boundaries, perhaps rediscovering works that have been overlooked. But I think we brought the audience in because there was a certain sort of narrative behind what we were doing. It sort of made sense. Things were sort of linked up, and they may not have always been obvious to the audience goer, but because the thought had been put in, there was a sense of development in the work. Probably one of the greatest projects was the one we did together with you and the Southbank Centre in The Rest Is Noise, because actually in that season we did 30 concerts of purely 20th century music from January to December, as you remember. And I think when we got to British music in the 90s, we had an entire program of 4 great British composers: Tom Addis, Mark Anthony Turnage, James Macmillan, and Julian Anderson.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a great atmosphere in the hall. It sold incredibly well, and it just proved that there is an audience for new music, and they can appreciate it if somehow they've been taken on a journey to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Rest Is Noise did.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you hope for the LPO for the future as you retire?
Well, of course, I obviously made the decision to retire before the current crisis, but my first hope is that the LPO and all orchestras can survive this, because I think it's a really big challenge. Concerts are all about having an audience in a concert hall, and the idea of just streaming concerts or having to play them in a socially distant way is sort of anathema to the whole sense we have of making music. So I'm sorry to be leaving at a time when there is so much to do, but I know that the next CEO, David Burke, who's been with the company for 10 years, will carry on the hard work really well. He's an excellent appointment, and that there will be a new artistic director appointed, and that the company will go on to do well. It will do well because there is a will for it to do well, and that lies in the members, the players themselves. They want to do well, and that they are motivated to succeed. So I don't have any doubts about the orchestra surviving. My doubt is about what the world will look like in 6 months or a year's time. And that is actually my concern until I leave, because I'm busy reworking programs in case of all sorts of other issues that might arise, so that the orchestra has as much flexibility.
And one thing that you have put in place to help ensure a good future for the LPO is the appointment of the new chief conductor, Edward Gardner, which I think gives us a lot of confidence that things are going to be good for the LPO, because he's such an energetic and so well revered figure in music. Did you feel that? Why did you feel that Ed was the right appointment? What was your reasoning for appointing Ed?
Well, there were quite a few reasons, but one of them, I think, was actually realizing that we could have a British conductor again, because we hadn't since about early 1960s. I think the last British conductor of the LPO was Sir John Pritchard, and it was wonderful to think that we are producing conductors of world class, and that it's time for the LPO, after Tenstedt and Jolte and Haitink and Mazur and Jurowski, for example, to come back to a British. So that was quite important for me, and also it had a lot to do with Ed's personality and his character and the way he treats the musicians and works with the musicians. So there's just a lot in the character that's important. I have no doubt that he has all of the technical skills, but it's everything else about him that's quite special. I should add too that with Karina Kanalakis as the new principal guest conductor, they are both friends, which is great. Again, it will be a very nice compliment, I think, to have these two working together with the LPO, and it will be quite a change from the last period, because Vladimir has been principal conductor for 14 years. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, that's the longest serving conductor of any British orchestra ever, as far as I can see. Haitink did 13 seasons with us, so Vladimir's done 14. And before that, of course, he was principal guest conductor for 5 years. The good thing is that he stays on as conductor emeritus. So we have, I think, in these three titled conductors, a very strong offering now.
Tim Walker, thank you very much. And I very much hope we can raise a glass to you in person in London before too long.
Thank you.